Okay.
For the year. No
Can
one
I point to him?
No one's gonna.
Hi, everybody! It's December. And as you know, in December, that means we've just finished with Movember. And in Movember, all of us guys, we're supposed to grow mustaches for prostate cancer. So I spent all of November growing this fabulous mustache, which you see now. So now's the time to cure prostate cancer. So what we do is we remove the mustache, and we put it in an envelope, and then we address the envelope. We just have to write prostate cancer. And then you draw a circle with a line. See, prostate cancer circled. North Pole. North Pole, Poland. I don't remember where the North Pole is. Now we seal up the envelope. I'll get my staff to put a stamp on it in the morning. And I'm told prostate cancer will be cured for another year. I think. I admit I'm not totally clear in the details. But I read that on the internet, so I was busy not shaving all of November to make you people happy. Welcome to the show. We've decided to call this the Contractually Obligated Keith Explains. We have a schedule. We tape the first Thursday of every month at 8 p.m. Unless something comes up, like a concert that we decide to go to, or if we're tired and really busy because it's Christmas and we've just been at Thanksgiving. And on those times, we email the studio and we say, hey, we're not coming. And the studio's like, that's too bad. All of your fans are going to be disappointed. No, they don't say that. The studio has never said that. They say, you got to tell us 7 days in advance, and you told us 3 days in advance. And then I always am like, I thought it was 72 hours. And then they're like, the 7 part was right. But it's not hours, it's days. And then I was like, so if I don't tape my TV show, I still have to pay you. And they're like, yes, that's exactly what we're saying. And we'd go home early. So please don't tape your TV show. And then I'm like, screw you people. I'm taping my damn TV show. This entire TV show, if you've watched it long enough, you realize is just me trying to get back at people. You know, pretty much all the people that I was young were like, hey, you can't be on TV. You're not. And then they'd fill in a adjective or verb or... Should have paid attention in English class, too. Come to think of it. Good Lord, I'm not good on TV, am I? Oh, well. Anyway, Contractually Obligated Keith Explains. Here we are. It's going to be just good enough to get on the air. It doesn't need to be any better than that. It has to just cross the lowest of bars in terms of television, which means I need to hit 1.01 of a Fox News, which is admittedly low. Admittedly, I have a couple topics. I didn't even prepare topics, really. So on the drive over here, I said, what can we talk about? And then we just wrote some crap down. So first of all, you notice most of it's not in my handwriting because you can read it. And honestly, since I was driving, I don't remember some of these things. And some of them, it's really the first time I've seen these words in this piece of paper. Because I purposely didn't read it. Because again, I've only got to hit a low bar. It's December, a low bar for the end of the year. Seasonal coffees. As you'll know, as I'm sure you've heard, I'm addicted to caffeine. And I was talking with someone the other day, and they were like, in the 70s, people were thinking maybe someday coffee will go away because the coffee drinking was going down. And they were like, maybe people aren't going to drink coffee in the future. And I'm like, really? You people thought that in the 70s? I mean, first you were like global cooling, and then you were like coffee's going to go away. Coffee's addictive, people. If you have a chance to invest in a product that's addictive, you should. Because it's going to work. I mean, if they traded meth on the stock exchange, I would put not a lot of my portfolio in math, but some. I mean, I bought some of a stock which invests in casinos and strip clubs. I think it's casinos and strip clubs. And that stock did very well during the recession. And then an executive at the company embezzled a bunch of money, and it turns out it's down. Because when you're giving money to people that run casinos and strip clubs, turns out they're often not honest. Words to live by, people. Anyway, seasonal coffees. Most of the year, after Keith Explains, which we tape the first Thursday of every month, roughly nowish if you're watching live, which would be 9-something Pacific Standard Time. After this, we go to Coffee Society, which is a coffee shop in Cupertino. Everything in Cupertino closes at 9 o'clock at night. Like if you're hungry in Cupertino and you want to get food and it's 9:04, you are out of luck. But if you want to get coffee, something that will keep you awake for hours and hours, you can get that till 11. Okay? You can get coffee until 11 o'clock at night in Cupertino. Probably most towns across America, you could pull into a 7-Eleven at 2 in the morning and get coffee. You can't get a burger. You can maybe get a bad hot dog that's been rolling on those things for the last 12 hours. But you can get moderately fresh coffee. And come the end of the year, stores are like, I bet people are tired of drinking regular coffee all year. I mean, they're wrong. We're not tired of it. We're still doing it. So we're going to sell coffee that doesn't actually taste terribly much like coffee. It'll still be addictive. It'll still have caffeine in it. But we're going to sell pumpkin coffee. Here's the thing. In nature, there's no pumpkin coffee. Coffee grows on trees up high in the mountains. I don't know where. Coffee land, maybe. Hawaii. I know you can get coffee from Hawaii. You can get coffee from... I don't know. I don't care. I don't care. They figured it out. But pumpkins. There are no pumpkins nearby. But somehow you can buy pumpkin-flavored coffee. This month we have been buying gingerbread-flavored coffee. There's no... Gingerbread and coffee are not... They're natural enemies, almost. Because you make gingerbread men, then you dip them in coffee. Gingerbread men do not like... The weather. It's amazing I made it this far in the show without talking about the weather. I don't remember talking about the weather in Keith Explains before. If I have, put something on the wiki after you see this, people. But here in California, it's December and it's freaking cold. And before the show we were chatting, and one of our Canadians, we invite Canadians to the show because they're lonely. And they need to get out and meet people so that, I don't know, they're Canadians. They're polite. I mean, they like to come to the show. At least they say they like to come to the show. They were like, I heard it was going to snow here tonight. And I was like, yes, you've heard of snow, right? And they're like, yes, in Canada it snows 8 months of the year. I'm like, it sucks to live in Canada, doesn't it? They're like, yes, it does. That's why we moved here forever and ever and we'll never move back. It's supposed to snow in the Bay Area tonight, people. What's the story with that? Here's why. Cold air hits moisture, and that causes the moisture to freeze and fall. In Wisconsin, where I'm from, this happens frequently. Frequently enough that you will buy sticks with large pieces of metals attached to them so that you can leave your house to dig a hole through what used to be air so that you can get your car to a road so that you can buy firewood and not die. Or so you can drive to Starbucks and get coffee in case you run out of the seasonal stuff. Here, it will snow. And by that I mean some of the moisture in the air will actually drop to, 0.1 degree above the freezing point of water, and it will briefly shimmer in the air before falling and hitting the ground and instantly melting. Because it is never actually cold enough for the snow to stick for any amount of time whatsoever. Although in Campbell, every December, they buy snow from Snowland. I don't know where they get it from. And then they drive it down to Campbell in a big truck, And then they throw it out of the big truck, and then in downtown Campbell, you can take your kids sledding for like 4 hours before the snow melts. 4 hours is not a bad amount of time to spend in snow. It's actually a nice amount of time to spend in snow. And you don't spend it in the snow, you stand off to the side mocking all the people, mostly 8-year-olds, that are gallivanting on the snow. And then the dogs. Dogs have no idea what to do. They're like, what is that? You're like, that's snow. And then the dog is like, I must go dig in it briefly. And you're like, you're going to freeze your nose, dog. And then the dog goes and digs, and then the dog freezes its nose. Snow in the Bay Area. Also, it's cold. I'm not a big fan of cold, mostly because it makes me miserable. And I was thinking about this. It makes me miserable from the edges in. Like, here in the studio, for some reason, it's always cold until we get the lights on. And then it slowly warms up during the show. In the summer, it warms up to the point that near the end of the show, I'm almost perspiring. Now here, I gotta say, it's like 40 degrees out there in the audience, which is why you can only hear like 5 or 6 of the 50 people we have in this room live. But up here, it's got to be in the mid 60s. I don't think I'm going to be sweating by the end of the show because of the ungodly cold, and my feet are freezing. Like I don't know how it happens during the winter when it gets particularly cold, but like I wake up in the morning and my feet are cold and they never get warm during the day. I have thought of digging out a heating pad so I could put it in my feet just to warm them up. And the problem is I only own one heating pad, but I have 2 feet. So I have to ration it. I have to put it on one foot for a while and then like, well, that foot's kind of warm. I'm going to heat the other. I went to Costco and I had previously bought a heated mattress pad, which broke, I assume from not being used. And I took it back and said, this broke. And they're like, well, we're Costco, so here's all of your money back. I'm like, I love you people. Can I get another one? They're like, we don't have them in stock. I'm like, ah! So I had to order it. They mailed it to me. I have a heated mattress pad sitting in my house waiting to go in my bed tonight. Hopefully, I won't be too cold when I get home to install it. And then I'm going to lay there all night long with, I'm hoping, warm feet. Because really, it's the feet getting cold that kill me. And my fingers. Like I'm sitting in my office today, I'm like, I can't type semicolons. Because semicolons under the pinky. The pinky's too cold to hit the semicolon reliably. First world problems, people. Also, I want to talk about Canadians and sexy time. I mention this because I have a Canadian friend who's apparently a major player up in Canada. And down here he's miserable because he's not a major player down here. I was like, no, you're lying to me. There are no Canadians that are hugely sexy time people. And then I was like, wait, Justin Bieber's from Canada. He's, I'm told, moderately, hugely sexy time. What if all the sexy people are from Canada? I mean, it kind of makes sense. No, it doesn't. No. Just for a second, the cold is affecting my mind. But there are some Canadian sexy time people that are very, very popular. They'll come to me. See, I already talked about seasonal coffees and the weather. Gift giving. A lot of people, this time of year, if you go to the Keith Explains forums, keithexplains.com/forums, you need to log in and authenticate. We're asking you to provide your driver's license. We have a little bit of a trolling problem in the forums. Nonetheless, they're wildly popular. People love the forums. And one of the really popular questions gets thousands of replies this time of year is, someone always starts the, Keith, we would like to get you Christmas presents. What should we get you? And I'm like, well, first of all, you don't need to get me anything. Just your love and adoration is more than enough. No, I kid. Here's my Amazon wish list. And here's a long list of things Amazon won't let you wish list for. And on that topic, I mean, I likewise have to buy gifts for the many, many, many hundreds of dozens of 2 or 3 people. I have to buy gifts for 2 or 3 people. I have nephews and nieces that I buy for. I don't buy for them. I ask Loretta, what should we get the nephews and nieces? And she says, I got it 4 days ago on Amazon. It's already there. I'm like, genius, genius. This is great because I have trouble keeping their names separate. I mean, at least one of them thought to name his children in alphabetic order. So, given a list, I can figure out which one is how old roughly. Like I know the B one is older than the F one, and I can quick check things off and know I haven't missed one. Another sister-in-law, both of her children have the same first letter for their name. What's up with that? My brother, both of his children have the same letter for their name. You can't, people, you got to make it easy for us moderately interested relatives to keep your children separate in minds. If you can separate the genders, that's better. I understand it's a little hard to plan sometimes. But just give them names that are distinct, very distinct names, like Alfonso and Zachariah, right? Like Peter and Paul, bad. Peter and Paul are terrible names for your 2 children because no one's ever going to tell them apart. You're constantly getting gifts to Peter, and then you open it up and you're like, this is Paul's side. Peter's only got 1 arm. You got him a sweater. Anyway, back to the important thing. Appropriate gifts for Keith this time of year. I've always said, first on my list, as always, real estate. Preferably in large, contiguous areas. Taxes need to be paid on it. Near major transit hubs is always, a plus, but not required. Well, yeah, it's required. I don't need any more desert land. I figured out I'm like keeping 7,400 iguanas alive in New Mexico right now, based on 14 iguanas per acre times number of acres. And I'm like, really? Can I deduct the iguanas? And my accountant's like, no, you can't deduct the iguanas. And I'm like, but they're my children. He's like, iguanas are not children. For other people, I have the same list I talked about. I have all these nieces and nephews. I rely on their parents to tell me what they want, and then I buy whatever the heck I think would be cool to have, preferably noisy. But for other people, like I have a couple sisters-in-law that I have to buy for. A few of them have made it easy for me. First of all, they have children. That doesn't make it easy. I used to, like you, for the first couple years after someone has kids, you can just give their kids presents before it occurs to them, come like 10 o'clock Christmas morning, they're like, wait, did we get a present from Keith? Oh no, he bought all that stuff for Junior. And they're like, oh yeah. But like once Junior's like 8, they start to wise up. They're like, couple of my sister-in-laws have done great things. They have dogs. Great thing about a dog is you can always buy a dog presents, and you are required to give the dog presents. So you buy the dog presents, you give them to the sister-in-law, and then the sister-in-law thinks you bought her a gift. Meanwhile, her dog likes you. And the other great thing about dogs is, unlike kids, dogs don't remember what you got them last Christmas. You can just buy the same Christmas present for a dog every year. In fact, the dog likes it. Like, we got you a new Kong. It's a rubber thing you can chew on. And if you chew on it enough, it squeaks. And the great thing about it is it squeaks at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it squeaks at 5 o'clock in the morning. That squeaker doesn't have an off switch on it. Like, kids' toys, I've discovered parents take the batteries out of them, which is why when I've given a kid a toy, I have super glued the battery compartment shut. Just to make sure that the parents don't turn into something that doesn't make noise as the child wants. But dogs, right? There's no off switch on a squeak toy, so dogs are great for the sisters-in-law. I work at Apple, so you can always buy Apple stuff because everyone loves Apple stuff. I don't do that, but you could do that, people. What I'm saying is that the stock price could still go up some. We could use some additional sales, people. We're beleaguered again. The other thing about Christmas is some people send us stuff. I got home and there was a huge box on my front door the other day, and I brought the box inside and it said from Janet, and I'm like, oh, I know Janet. She's at that thing where I sometimes volunteer. And look, it's from Harry and David. And everybody was like, ooh! And I'm like, what? It's this huge pile of boxes. Each box is full of something that's bad for me. Really ungodly bad for me. Terribly. We looked it up. It's like 44 million calories. Like there's one box has pears. The pears are okay. Everything else is bad for me. Just really, really ungodly bad for me. And I think I'm going to eat all of it. It's delicious. The other thing about fall that happens, Loretta and I buy tickets to this Best of Broadway thing up in San Francisco. For some reason, they always seem to have a bunch of their shows in the fall. And so in the last, we saw 2 plays in 2 weeks. What's the story with that? It's too often, really, every 3 months. I would like you to space it out every 3 months. We once saw this play called Peter and the Starcatcher, which is it's a prequel for Peter Pan. And apparently they've been doing a lot of prequels for plays lately. I blame George Lucas because of the Star Wars thing. Now apparently if there's a popular play or whatever, you can, as an author, write the story that happened before that story, and then people will go see that and you'll be popular and beloved. And the benefit for Peter Pan is Peter Pan's no longer in copyright, so you don't got to pay royalties or nothing, which is another great thing. Peter the Starcatcher tells the story of how Peter got out of that damn island with Captain Hook. But here's the funny thing. I didn't realize this till like halfway into the play. I was like, this seems strangely familiar. I mean, some of the names are okay. I should really read that little thing they hand you when you walk in. That's the little booklet. Because I didn't. I was just like, Peter and this, okay, whatever. We also once saw a musical called Porgy and Bess, which is old and famous. And honestly, I don't remember what happened. So I'm not even going to try and summarize it, but my main recollection walking out of this was, man, people were terrible to each other back a long time ago. Thanksgiving. We just finished with Thanksgiving for us. As I mentioned before, we do the Thanksgiving of lost toys. We invite everyone we know that doesn't have anywhere else to go on Thanksgiving to come to our house so that we can all be miserable together. And then we make them cook various bits of food and bring it over. And then we make them take their food with them when they leave. Because the main problem when you have people bring food over is they leave it at your house. And then you have like a fridge full of food for like 3 weeks. And you're like, Thanksgiving never seemed to end. Whereas this time, people brought food and we were like, you should take your food with you. The couple people that didn't, I was able to get my nephew. I was like, you should take this food. He's like, okay. Which was great because I, in my head, had been lining up all these reasons he should take the food. And he just took it. But he's in college, so that makes a lot of sense. When you tell a college student, hey, you should take all this totally free food that you back to your house where you can eat it, I think he's going to do it. So I need to make more college friends. That's what I need to do. We got that. How to choose a pod last. podcast. I really got to pay attention when we're making this list of things to talk about. Is what I'm getting from this. Winter exercise plan. I mentioned this before. I'm still trying to lose weight. This morning I stepped on the scale. It said 168. Yes, 168. And then it emailed me and said, congratulations on your 50-pound weight loss. And I was like, wow, that's a lot. And sadly, I'm still overweight. So really, I was ungodly overweight before, apparently, is the thing. Problem with winter is it's freezing out all the time. And it's cold and dark, and you don't want to go out and do things. A couple friends and I. On the other hand, since it is the winter, there are these weird outdoor communal exercising things that we have managed to sign up for. Like on Thanksgiving Day for the second year in a row, a couple of friends and I got up. We did what's called the turkey trot. You drive to downtown San Jose, you park your car. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. It's earlier than you should be awake on Thanksgiving. And there are 60,000 other people there. And then you jog for 5 kilometers. And then you walk back to your car, and then you go back to your house and you eat too much food. And so I did it. We did it. It all worked out. We got our little bibs on. In a week and a half, we're doing the Santa run, which is exactly the same thing, except it's in the afternoon at a decent time. And in addition to giving you the bib, they give you a Santa Claus outfit. So I'll be putting on this really cheap Santa Claus outfit. It lasts about 5 kilometers based on last year, which is okay because I'm only running 5 kilometers. And anyone else out there in the world watching this live, sign up for the Santa run. And you can run along with the friends and I. You have to wear the beard. If you're going to do the Santa run, you got to wear the Santa beard, otherwise it's not authentic, and it doesn't count. I'm told we are essentially out of time, in that there's this guy who counts down during the show and tells me when I need to stop talking, which is good, because I forgot to start my clock on my phone that tells me how long is left in the show. So it still tells me I have 27 minutes and 15 seconds left. I glanced over at it once or twice and went, well, that's not going to be helpful to me. Happy end of the year to everyone. 2014 will be the best Keith Explains season ever in a year 2014. Bye, everyone. Happy New Year. Did I actually end on time? Are we done? Is it like credits rolling? I can't. No, but I'm... It is. They are. It's a typo. It's a typo that just went by. That's... No. I told the editor guy to do it that way.